Just a friendly reminder before the video begins, you will hear 2 stories in this video and both have new updates. Now on to the first story. I've been dating my boyfriend for a year. I live with him. My family life isn't great. My dad has been out of the picture for as long as I remember and my mom is very mentally unstable. She has been diagnosed BPD but isn't on treatment. She has always been a jealous person. She showers you with love and affection, but if you don't do the same for her she will blow up. I've seen her do that to all of her partners and to me. She has been against me doing anything other than staying home with her for as long as I remember. Against me having friends, studying for school, working out, etc. Always putting me down for anything. She has had better and worse times and the last year has been one of her downs. She went absolutely mental when she found out I had a boyfriend. She tried to prohibit me seeing him. Made scenes whenever I spent time with him saying I am changing her, etc. Went as far as trashing my room when I left for a whole day. One day I came home and she told me I either stay here with her and broke up with him or when I leave she will change the locks and never let me come back. I called my boyfriend crying and he offered for me to move in with him. I agreed. She has sent me picture of her burning everything I had in my room. That she never wants to see me again and that I am a terrible daughter. Made posts on Facebook calling me a whore, etc. Everything has been going okay until a week ago. I came back from school and told him we had vocational orientation. And that a nurse had came to tell us about her career. I told him though what she did was really cool and I would love to be a nurse. He asked me if you had to study to be a nurse and I said you had. It was about 3 years I think. He then asked me when would we get married and I laughed and said maybe after I finished the career. He frowned and said that he wanted to have kids young. I told him we could. Just not that young. We still had plenty of time and though it was best for both of us to have careers before having kids. There wasn't a rush. He said he was running late for work and the conversation was cut short. He has since then done something really weird in which he starts talking semi-sarcastically about when I start studying and asking me things like if I'm going to go to parties or make more friends or if I'll still have time for him. When I ask him why is he talking like that he will deny using any tone. He has also started to try and convince me to have sex without a condom, saying that he will pull out. One time he even went as far as ignoring me asking him to put a condom on and trying to go in me and he stopped just because I screamed at him. 3 days ago I saw him doing something with the drawer where we keep our stash of condoms open. When he saw me he closed it quickly. I grew suspicious and went to look at them after he left. Some of them had little dots like they had been poked. There were just 1/4 of them so I feel like if I bring this up he will deny it and say some were just broken. The other day I asked him that if he wanted to have sex without a condom maybe I should start doing hormonal birth control and he said those pills make you fat and he doesn't want me being fat. He also made fun of me saying I am being so dramatic about being scared of getting pregnant like it was a curse or something. I've though about talking it out with him and reassuring him that me wanting to go to college doesn't change anything on our relationship and we still have plenty of time to form a family. But maybe I'm being naive. I really do love him and I don't want to end this relationship. Up until now he has been the biggest blessing. I don't know what else to do. I don't have access to my own money to get my own birth control without him. I live with him. I don't have anywhere else to go. Update 1. It isn't normal, isn't it? A couple of hours ago I asked for help in a couple of subs for a specific situation with my boyfriend. Many people gave me advice and made me feel like I wasn't crazy, which I genuinely appreciate. But a lot of advice I was given revolved around me leaving or taking action behind his back. I started thinking and I don't think the dynamics of our relationship are standard. It would be really hard for me to hide something from him. He takes care of everything money involved, which makes sense because he makes the money, but it is to the extent I don't remember him ever giving me cash, not even to buy the simplest cheapest items. Whenever we need something, he goes and buys it, from groceries to clothes to everything. He has made me wait in stores with the things we need for the house for him to come to where I am and pay. Even when he charges my public transport card he asks me how many trips I need to make and charges exactly the money for them. Not 1 cent more. I have access to absolutely zero money. I used to think it was just a quirk of his but now I feel like it's deliberate. My phone doesn't have a plan. I just use Wi-Fi and have him as my emergency contact if I'm outside the house. I don't have friends or really any type of relationships that he isn't also friends with. All my friends are people he knew first. If I do anything without him he insists on dropping me off and picking me up. He asks me for selfies of what I'm doing every hour of the day if we are apart. He convinced me to delete together all of our conventional social media, Insta, Twitter, TikTok, claiming it's better for our mental health. And then he didn't delete his because he realized he needed them for his job. He doesn't know English and he has started complaining whenever I consume any media in English, claiming it makes him feel left out and he wants to be able to engage in my hobbies. With people recommending me to search for narcissist abuse and other comments, I started to rethink most things I never really put much thought into or minded about. Maybe he has been controlling all along, I just didn't oppose any of his requirements until now. I guess I'm just used to having no control. With my mom it was worst. At least he lets me enjoy myself. She would try to make me feel miserable every hour of the day. But at the same time it's so much worse. Outside of empty threats there was very little she could do after I was 13 or 14. She is fat and old and I have little respect or love for her. She could trash my room or scream or not feed me all she wanted, but she couldn't retain me physically. With him, outside from being way stronger than me, I love him so much. I can't even picture myself ever finding the strength to leave. It really physically pains me to write this. I feel like I am delusional. And I want to be. I feel like such an empty shell of a human being, though I had control of my life for once and I am just in the same spot. Update 2. Hi guys. I have a smallish update. People told me to contact my father's family for help. I tried, and he smoothly told me he does not care. I have no close enough friends who aren't friends with him to reach out to, and there isn't a woman's shelter in my city. I am also very adamant about contacting the police because my country's child laws are very strong on putting blood bonds over almost every type of abuse that is not full-blown crude sexual or physical abuse. I do not want to get back at my mom's house at any terms. I know there's a possibility this isn't going to work out and the way he was acting wasn't okay, but he has been so good to me since now. I feel like he deserves the benefit of the doubt. I spent the weekend trying to avoid having sex. I claimed I had a bruised cervix, which did happen before, so he understood and didn't push it further than just asking for oral a couple of times, which I don't mind. He did make one weird joke on Saturday when I got out of the shower and he saw me, and he said something along the lines of, "If you don't let me get what's mine, I'll have to just get in myself." I guess he could see on my facial expression that I didn't find it funny and assured me he was just joking. I genuinely believe him. It was a joke that came off the wrong way. I managed to talk to a school friend and ask for her help. Today we skipped the first period and went to a nearby salita. I don't know how to describe it in English, but a very small hospital for neighborhoods. I got a birth control shot. I hoped I would be able to get a 3-month one, but they didn't have any, so I have to go back every month to get it on the same day. I still think it's better than pills because that means I don't have to hide any item. And it was free, yay, thanks to the girl in Argentina that sent me the link to them. Later I started stressing about what would happen if the day of the month falls on the weekend and I do not have school to use as an excuse, but I still have many months to go, so that's a future me problem. I will still try to stand my ground on him using condoms though. I know I need some type of backup plan if the situation goes south, so I applied for government aid that's supposed to be for high school students from public schools, and it's supposed to help you with money for uniforms or school supplies. It's not much, but I thought if I created a Mercado Pago account, PayPal for Argentina, that I can create from my home and put my money there in investing mode, I can help it not all disappear from the inflation. I still don't know if I'm going to get accepted because it has a restriction on your parents' income and I am not sure how much they are making currently. If he still doesn't want me to study when I turn 18, I can apply for a program that helps you for 3 months financially for people who are suffering domestic violence. The program seems too good to be true though, so if someone in Argentina is reading this, can you tell me if it's as accessible as it seems? As per today was such a shitty weird day. When I got home from school and he got home from work, I saw him and just started crying uncontrollably. He didn't ask me anything. He just held me and told me not to worry, that everything was going to be okay, and that he was going to take care of me. I don't know if he had his own theory on why I was crying or if he didn't want to bother asking, but I ended up falling asleep while hugging him. It made me feel like a hypocrite. I feel like for the last months, for the first time in my life, I was just able to put my guard down and not walk on eggshells, so it kind of sucks being back on analyzing everything someone says or does or makes me do. I woke up like 2 hours ago and he went back to work, so now I am now writing this not knowing how to feel. Update 3. If I take a computer that my boyfriend bought me, can I get into legal trouble? My boyfriend has been having a lot of violent activities and I need to get out of the relationship. But I'm kind of tied to him because I don't work and he supports me. I don't have any money that belongs to me and I don't have many people in my life to ask for help. Several months ago he bought a laptop for me to use primarily, but he uses it too. I thought about taking it and maybe selling it if I need the money. Can he sue me and put me in a legal bardo? I am underage. He doesn't care so much about the legal implications as much as that by complaining about it he can get the police to find out where I am and have access to me back. I'm 17 if it makes a difference. Update 4. Last week I left my partner. I don't know if I should go to the police. This is a long post, but please bear with me. I need advice in this situation and I am tired of feeling like I am burdening the very few people I have in my life with my hesitation. I used this account to ask for advice a couple of times to know if my partner was being abusive or if I was being dramatic. You guys were right. From my first post things just went downhill. I feel like he could sense I wanted to leave and became more hostile even. From slight controlling acts, it escalated to plain violence, physically and sexually. On top of that, I found him cheating and a lot of other worrying stuff on his phone, but that alone would take me a whole post. I didn't know how to leave. I had no money or anywhere to go. At the perfect time, I remembered a very specific figure from my past that had almost left my mind between traumatic events, who had promised to help me if anything wrong happened to me. I'm sorry, this is vague, I do not want to give identifiable information. She agreed to help me, so without thinking about it too long, I left him a note explaining why I was leaving without saying where to, and I left with like 2 t-shirts and my phone charger. This was last week Monday. The person who has helped me escape has been nothing short of wonderful and the most loving human being, but that sadly hasn't made this past week any less horrifying. He tried contacting me on all platforms we have, and I answered all his first messages explaining I am okay but I don't want to go back and block him afterward, except for email just in case. He started sending messages saying he couldn't live without me, asking me to come back. Then they fluctuated to full walls of paragraphs saying how much he hated me and how much of a horrible human being I am and threatening physical violence. He then sent me a message with a folder with nude pictures he had of me saying he would share them if I didn't agree to see him. The pictures are half pictures of myself I knew he had, but they don't really show anything that would gain me a ban on Instagram. They are just suggestive. There are a whole other bunch of pictures that I sent him on limited time agreeing to his persistence for them, and I had specifically asked to not screenshot. But oh well. In these pictures I specifically didn't show my face or any defining feature that would tell it's me. The real issue comes with a couple of pictures he added where I am fully naked and you can recognize it's me. I did not take or consent to be taken these pictures. He had taken them while I was asleep/distracted. I don't think he would be dumb enough to share this because I am a minor and doing so would fuck up his life way more than it would mine. Still, it scares me very much. His actions don't end here. He then proceeded to say if I didn't answer he would find where I was and go /me. My mom and a school friend asked me where I was because he had gone by their houses demanding to see me and threatening them if they didn't let him in. I made the terrible mistake of telling my mom where I was and what was going on. She didn't have much of a response other than telling me that it was my fault and that I deserved it because she always told me he was bad news. Well, turns out my ex-boyfriend's mom called mine crying and pleading with her to convince her that I return home with him because she feared for his mental health and life if didn't. And the piece of shit I have the displeasure of calling my mom. I have told her where and with who I am. She informed me this. Her excuse was that she knows how hard it is to be a mother and she empathizes with her because I am a horrible human being that keeps hurting people. Since this, he has just sent me one email saying he knows where I am and nothing else. I am incredibly terrified and haven't left the house. Who I am staying with has encouraged me to file a lawsuit against him, because then I can ask for state help and I do have some evidence. I don't know what is the value of the evidence. I have the emails, screenshots from his phone talking to his friends about me and low-key admitting to sexually abusing me, pictures of marks he has left on me, and a video of him hitting the door I am hiding against screaming threatening to hurt me. I never till today thought of taking legal action. This whole experience has made me feel so weak. I feel if one more person starts questioning me I will lose my sanity. I just want to move on with my life and leave everything that has to do with him behind. I am from a very small town and people love him and his family. I feel that even if I have all the evidence in the world the average person will still be on his side. I am an outsider with a mom known for losing her marbles. The only really weird thing that gave me a little bit of hope is that today one of the girls in his friend group contacted me and asked me if I was okay and to know my side of the story. She said she had created her suspicions one night when we went to hang out with his friends and he had gotten really drunk and really mad at me. She said she had seen him throwing and pushing me around. I hadn't even realized he was doing so. She said she believed me and she was proud of me for leaving. She has no reason for believing me over him or reaching out. It made me feel less crazy. I don't know if legal action will bring me more safety or just more mess. I don't care about justice anymore. I just want to live. Now on to the next story. Story 2. My wife is usually an angel of a woman, but has recently gotten into a friendship with a woman whom I personally believe is a bad influence on her. Not in a patronizing way, more of a lay down with dogs, get up with fleas type of situation. I never said anything about her childishness or her very radical misandry, because frankly it doesn't affect me. Until it did. A few months ago my wife began pressuring me to do more around the house. Before I get an instanuda. We already split chores and child care. Admittedly, she had a bigger cut than I because she is a som. But I do most of the cooking, breakfasts and dinners. Lunch is her responsibility for her and the boys. I take out the garbage and I do laundry. And I deep clean the bathrooms once a week. I do also help with our boys' homework and such. She insists that I am not doing enough and that I should be doing more around the house. I tried having discussions with her asking what she expected from me, namely all chores and child rearing should be my duty it seems, and for months it seemed to be going nowhere. She used the D word more than once when speaking on this, which felt manipulative. It boiled over when we were out with friends one night, and she began talking about how I never helped out and how I use her as a house slave. Her words. I will admit I saw red. This next part is where I may be the asshole. I didn't say anything that night, but the next day I asked my boss to be given reduced hours for the next little bit, due to stress. And I took over everything in the house. I cooked breakfast, and made lunch for the boys before I drove them to school. I cleaned the house top to bottom. I did every dish we had twice and so on. My wife was blindingly happy, and bragged to her friend that she finally had me worn in. She didn't lift a finger for around a month. Then she began asking why we never went on dates anymore and complaining that she wanted to get her nails done as they were growing in. I explained that I had to take that out of our budget so we could continue to afford everything else, but we could absolutely have a movie night in, and I could paint her nails for her. She was unhappy with that solution. So I asked her if she would want to get a part-time job to pay for either luxuries. You would have thought I asked if she wanted to join a cult. She then asked if I could just pick up more shifts at work to cover her other expenses, and use the phrase be a man, which I found more than a little insulting. I then asked her if she would be willing to go back to splitting the chores and such. Which is when she began to catch on that the two were related. She yelled at me that I was being a manipulative asshole for doing this and even claimed it was financial a word. I stood strong for a while, but now I am questioning my methods, because even I feel what I did was a bit underhanded. So Ida? Update 1. How do I, 38M, explain to / help my sons to understand their mother, 30F, is going to rehab? I have never been in a situation like this. I am a former addict myself, but I didn't have children then. See my last post for more clarification. But the gist of it is that my wife and I recently had a blowout argument where she admitted to using 2 substances for several months, and has agreed to get checked into rehab, which we are currently setting up now. How the hell do I bring this up to them, without them being judgmental or hateful to their mother? Or worse, falling into the same mental space I am in? I don't want to lie to them, which is what my wife wants, but I am failing to see an alternative that won't destroy them or the respect they have for their mother. I am swimming blind here, and I have barely slept since this all came out. Any and all advice is appreciated. Thank you in advance. Update 2. I yelled at my wife. See my profile for details. But I was driving my wife to the rehabilitation center we decided on. On the way she was screaming at me about how she can't believe I'm humiliating her like this, explaining what was happening to the boys, and making her message her dealer / friend that they would not be hanging out or using together anymore, about how she doesn't want to go, and that I am a controlling monster, and how threatening her with divorce and taking primary custody of the boys was too far and I was insane. And I just took it, and took it and took it, until I just couldn't. And I screamed at her. I screamed that the woman I met would have rather died than had a pillhead junkie around her sons, and how she disgusted me, and that I don't know if she knew how much I was considering leaving her, not because of the addiction but the way she was fucking acting. Like she hadn't brought drugs into our home. Around me, a former addict myself, and around our boys. That I am beginning to hate her for doing that. That she was becoming exactly what she always cried about her mother being. And that she was lucky I was here to see it before what happened to her goddamn sons. It makes me sick to say, but watching it sink in just how far she had spiraled felt good. Watching her realize that her actions have consequences was nice. She yelled a few more times, that I was an abusive asshole, or whatever, but she was still crying, so I felt her heart wasn't in it. I plan on speaking to a lawyer. I don't want to divorce her, but I don't know how healthy our relationship could possibly be after this. I know yelling like that was wrong, but I don't feel bad. And that is the part that makes me think that maybe I shouldn't be married to her anymore. For her sake and my own. I don't know what else to do, and I'm so pissed that she detonated C4 in every bit of our life. Update 3. She was cheating. Before you read, please know this is a vent post. I normally would never be like this, but I am beyond okay and need to get this poison out of my head before I go anywhere else with it. She was fucking cheating. The drug dealing friend sent me fucking videos of her dancing and grinding on this ugly hick looking bastard. I am goddamn destroyed. The boys are staying with my mother for a few days, and I'm taking the next week off work. I am so done. I have never been so angry in my goddamn life. She was so goddamn smug sending it. In case you don't realize you're replaceable to her. Well, the free ride stops here. I hope she can get on Medicaid for her Suboxone LMFAO. I'm done. I saved the video immediately and I'm going to see a lawyer ASAP. I can't tell anyone yet because I want to do this shit right. Thankful as fuck my parents insisted on a prenup with what I at the time thought was an inhumane cheating clause. Never been cheated on before and I feel like tearing my goddamned hair out. I genuinely never thought she would turn out to be such a scummy piece of shit. I cannot handle this. I am not physically able to handle this. I haven't been able to keep food down and I drank for the first time in over a decade last night. Then I woke up and had to pour the rest down the drain because I am about to spiral. And my boys don't need both mom and dad in rehab right now. I am so close to losing my goddamn mind. Also, believe what you want, but stop sending me private messages about how I should take down the posts or that posting about my personal relationship with my wife is wrong, please. Leave me be, it will not work. This is the only place I can talk about this shit. Update 4. My soon-to-be ex-wife is in the hospital after a suicide attempt, and I feel like a monster. I have been working on filing for divorce, while she's in rehab, not just for the cheating, but because with that on top of everything else, and myself nearly sinking back into my own addiction due to the stress of the situation, I couldn't stand to even think of her anymore, and there's no healthy relationship that has room for that mindset. I honestly didn't want to be in a room with her again, to try mediation or counseling due to the fact that the last time I was alone with her I raised my voice, and at the time even felt she deserved it. I of course now know that me doing that was terrible, and could be considered abuse, yet another reason I should not be in a relationship with this woman. I moved all of her belongings to our guest room, minus the pills I found hidden in her beside table. I took pictures of those in their hiding spot, then flushed them. I also removed her from my bank account and credit cards. I spoke to my boys, explaining the situation without demonizing their mother to the best of my ability, and they seemed to understand I have no intention of abandoning them, and blood or not, they were my sons. Then she came home. The boys were, and still are, away at camp, a birthday present paid for by my mother. She was quiet, eyes on the ground after the moment I picked her up at the facility all the way home. Once we got home, I led her to the guest room silently, and she didn't take it well, crying before she could even take the first step. Throughout the next couple weeks, I let her get settled, and though I stayed carefully neutral, I know she could tell something was coming, but I wanted to be as fair as possible, and try to let her get used to being out before I said anything, as that was one thing I myself hated about when I left rehab. Everything was flying at me so fast, I didn't have time to breathe. Finally, I asked her to sit on the couch and I began explaining to her that I do not believe I can continue being married to her, and that I want a divorce. I should have known her reaction was all wrong. She didn't say anything at all. She only nodded, and cried quietly as I spoke. I explained that I did not intend to hurt her, but I could not be married to her anymore, and that maybe both of us should focus on being the best parents we can be. I told her I had no intentions of kicking her out, and that because of our prenup the divorce should be cut and dry, and she should be safe to begin looking for employment now, and once she has a job I will help her find an apartment. At this, she stood and walked to her room. I let her, because I thought she must have been overwhelmed, and this talk could wait. She didn't come out at dinner time, and I weighed whether I should leave her alone or not. Eventually, I decided to knock on the door, and ask if she was hungry. Long story short, she had smuggled pills into my house somehow, or she had a stash I was unaware of, and had an overdose, and was dead for several minutes in the ambulance, and she's in a medically induced coma, because the doctors aren't sure exactly how much damage she's done to her brain, from what they've said. I feel like an absolute monster. Like I am the scum of the earth. Like I should have just said nothing. Like I should have just dealt with it. Just held it in, and stayed. I am responsible for this and it kills me. I may not have the same love for her as I did, but I do feel so very sorry for everything she's been through. It's killing me. I haven't told my sons yet, and I am debating waiting until they're back from camp, so they can have a little more time without this on their minds on top of everything else. I am sorry for the grammar and such. I don't have the energy to edit this, but wanted to get this off my chest.